Hi everybody, I'm Carol with Free Spirit Arts. This is going to be part 2 of our beginners junk journal series. So the last video, part 1, we made this cover. So this is how it turned out. And I really like it. I like the way it feels. It's going to be a great journal cover. The only thing I have done since the last video is I went around it with my sewing machine. And besides not being a measurer, I am not a sewer. I like leaving these little ends of the thread, but if you like a neater, tidier look, then just trim those off. I did backstitch a little bit. So now what we need to do is figure out at least how we're going to put what papers we want, how many we want, how we want them to be turned, and all those kinds of things. So I took the liberty of trimming this paper. So I guess there's two things I've done since our last time together. I sewed this and I trimmed this. There's no sense in you watching me do that. If you don't have a trimmer, just sit by the TV and use your scissors. You know, I have a trimmer, and so I love it. I have a great relationship with my trimmer. And they are basically 7.5. Some of them are slightly over, and I like that look. When the journal gets all put together, some of the journals that I've made, I really like that all the pages are not exactly the same. You really can't get them that way anyway, because as you add paper to your journal, see, your middle ones are going to be fine, but as you get to the outer pages, they're going to slide forward. So we may even still have to do some trimming, okay? So I love this page. I think it goes well with our journal, so I want to keep that. Let me get this cover over here, and we'll put the papers this way. Now these papers, we need to decide, do we want to back them now with something? You could back them with something else, you know, a color piece or coffee dye or something like that. You could even sew around them, or you can save them for when your journal's put together, pardon me, and do something with them then. You could use those as your pages that you're going to put pockets in or something like that. So we need to make that decision. This coffee dyed paper doesn't matter which way it goes. There's another one we're going to need to decide. All of these that are designer pieces that I got off of Facebook groups or something, they're going to have white backs. Okay, so, and this one, I love this, but it's not really going to, I don't know, maybe we'll keep it in. What I'm thinking is, as you fold it, and then when it lays in the journal, it's going to be like this. So you have to turn the journal. I don't know. I love it. I just don't know how much I like the way it's laying in the journal. Okay, I like that. So this is going to go either way, doesn't matter. May be a good idea for us to think about what we want to do with that before we get too much further. It's really sad when you get this is your signature, and when you get your signature all sewn in and everything, and then you're going through your journal and you realize, oh, I really wished I would have sewn that or done something that you can't do once it's in. So this is an important part, that take time and enjoy the process and decide if this is the paper you really love, because you could always change your mind. You can always change your mind. paper has a little hole in it or something. That's great. I'm going to keep it. I love it. Now would be a good time to ink these edges if that's what you want to do. I cut this down. There was no way it was going to fit. It just wasn't going to fit. So it'll lay in the journal a lot nicer now. Love this piece, and all I did, I didn't want to take from one side, so I just kept taking slivers from either side until it was the right height. And I think I want that to be the front page. So let me pull that out and put it up front. Let's see, it'll need to go, if we want it to be, show the roses, it'll need to go like that. So let's fold some of these and kind of get a feel for how this journal is going to lay. I am going to use a bold folder because I want to know after these are folded and they have a for sure crease in them, how do they lay in the journal? So I don't know that I want two of these together, so I'm going to sneak in and I could have creased these all and had it done, but for me, I love this part of it. This is part of the design element that is free. It doesn't cost you a thing to lay this out so that it makes sense to you, it flows the way you want. Now, this is my last one, and I don't want these two together, so I'm going to pull out. It looks like maybe we might have gotten off the mark a little bit, and I think I'm going to need more coffee dyed paper. Well, we'll see. Let's wait. I think we are going to need more coffee dyed paper, though, just to make it flow nicely. And I may pull some of these out, and it sounds really easy. You just fold them all in half, and then you put a thread through this and the spine to hook it all together, and boom, your signature's in. However, this is a really nice part of the journal process because now is when you get to decide a little bit of your decorating and what personality your journal's going to have. And I can already see there's a couple pieces I think I might pull out and sew. We'll see. We'll see. And I will probably, because I'm not a great sewer or a fast sewer, I will probably do it at the end in between videos or something. And you don't have to sew. I actually just bought a stamp on Amazon that was $4.99 that stamps a sewing stitch. It's like, well, that's cool. Or if you've ever toll painted, you know how to make a running stitch with a black, don't like that. Okay, so let's do it the other direction. This is also a good part of the journaling process to go over a few times because it's so easy to get your paper upside down or forget something that you wanted to put in. And you absolutely can undo the sewing and take it out if there's something you really want to add or something you know that you really don't like, and you know it's not going to get better as you move along. You don't like it. You can take that stitching out. I don't know if I've done it before or not. I've broke my stitching in my journal before on the last knot and had to take it all out because it was too short to retie. It's just no big deal. Do I want those two together? See, we have all these. I'm just gonna see how this goes if I go every other. It's really hard to do this when my head, because the camera's right above the paper, you can't get your head right above the paper, so it's hard to see if this is straight. I'm going to try really hard not to make this series very long. My idea is to make short bursts. That first video was a bit long, so I'm going to try to shorten them up. Well, that wasn't even, not even close. Not even close to close. Oh, the paper's crooked. Okay, I see. Okay. It's all right. No big deal. Okay. I like the way that's looking. It's a little boring for me. We can fix that. We're going to brighten it up with maybe some lace or some other design elements. That my goal here isn't to not put in a bunch of expensive stuff that I remember what it was like when I was watching everybody make things with acrylic waxes and texture paste and bone folders and colors and crickets, and it's like, holy cow. So there's our envelope. We're going to just tuck that in there. Is everybody having spring? In Idaho, I believe we might be getting some spring. And it's going to go right from snow and rain to 90. Whoop, up. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, yeah. I've got 2 pattern papers together there, and I'm going to take one out. What? Let's see if this is straight. Yeah, it is. It must have laid on my cookie rack a little crooked. So I'm going to take this one out. I'm going to put this one in, and then I'm going to put this one back. I love this paper. It's gorgeous. And I have some scrap of it, so we can use it for pockets or whatever we decide to do. So this is kind of how the flow is going. Can you see how? This is just how I do it. I mean, it doesn't have to be done this way. You can do it any way you want. Doesn't matter. You can go get at the kitchen table and lay them all out. I've done that before. Open them on a big table, and so I could see what I was, all of them at once. Isn't this gorgeous? It's just gorgeous. I'm going to save that for the end. doesn't matter how long this is, I'm going to fold it in half. Whatever half is, that's what it'll be. So I think I'll put this one down first. And I am noticing there's a lot of white pages in this journal already. And I'm not sure I'm okay with that. Now I'm going to put this in. We'll decide where that goes as far as how high up or how low on the page. We'll decide that later when we stand it up. That one sticks out just a little more. We'll have to decide if we like that or not at some point. This is such beautiful paper. I'm sure it's Andrea. Okay, did I get everybody's wings up on the same direction? I noticed a glare in my video the other day, so I closed some curtains and pulled some blinds, and I'm hoping that helps. So give me some feedback and let me know if that's helping. Okay, so see how the outside one is shorter? It's because it has further to wrap, right? Because it's got all these pages. So now would be the time to decide, okay, do I like that? Is it okay with me? Let's get the book. Because you're going to have you do have a couple that maybe stick out the edge. You're going to have embellishments inside here. So we're going to have pockets and belly bands and tucks and things in here. So we have to decide now, is this going to be okay? For me, that's okay. Because you really don't notice it, I don't think. It looks like a handmade book to me. And that is what we're after, right? This I don't care for. I'd like for that to be straighter. We can do that. And I think I want the envelope right side up. Okay. And we probably ought to decide what we're going to do with that, because if we're going to cut it right here or if we're going to cut it right there, we need to do that now. You could do it later if you forget. It's just harder. And you could turn these the other way, so you're looking at the white part, and then when you open it up, it's colored. We have to decide if that's what you want to do. It just depends on how you're going to embellish them or what you're going to do. For instance, I really like this one to be on the inside. So I'm going to put that on the inside. Okay, so now I like the way the papers are laying. I love the way this turned out, but there's too much white in here for me. So I do think I'd like to get some other pages, maybe some coffee paper or something. I don't know what. And of course I could stamp some things. Or I could spray. I could do that. We could do that. So this is just coffee with a dab of alcohol in it to keep it from getting moldy. And sometimes I will just spray on there. You can dab it up if you'd like. You can. It takes that stark white out. You can do it with tea. You can do it with anything else that has dye. I've heard of people doing it with Kool-Aid. This will just take the white out. Okay, that's a couple of them. Some of them we're going to cover, and we may put covering on those too, but it's just a lot of white. Not worried about them sticking together. There's no sugar or anything in there. Okay, so do I need to sew anything? That's major, because if we're going to sew anything, it needs to be done now. I like that page. I think maybe I might like to sew something in that. Let's just look and see. And this one too, I like it. Seems like it's kind of calling for some sewing. I like the paper. I like the paper in here. So that envelope we need to do something with it. And I think what we'll do is let's cut this so it folds nicely and we have access to these. And if we decide we want this to be a pocket over here, we can cut that off after it's in the journal. Yeah, so, but that'll be fine, just like that. But let's have it down this way. Okay, so that kind of decided where that's gonna lay on the page, right? It's gonna go low so that we can pop it up, lift the lid up. Okay, so I like it. I would like to sew some pages, and maybe I just hate to do it on camera because I'm so slow. Maybe I'll just do this center one. I'll just do this real quick. Hopefully I won't sew my finger or anything. Did you all see the Facebook video that went around about the gal that was making masks? It was a spoof on how easy it is to make the masks for people who don't sew, which is a lot like me. She ended up sewing her sleeve. I think she sewed through a finger. It was pretty funny. It did remind me of me. Almost done. With all the equipment and the lights and everything, there's underneath me is a nest of a snake bed of cords, and there's no way that I can lift this sewing machine and drag it over and under the camera. There's no way. Oh yeah, I like that. Now, like I said before, I like leaving the little tail on here, but if you don't like it, just cut it off. Okay, and this is where our end of our cord is going to be when we tie this on. Time for coffee. Cold coffee. Okay. It took me a while sewing several signatures before I finally got tired of running all around my craft room to get what I needed to tie paper into my journal cover. So I found this little box I had forever, and I made myself a template. The very first time I asked my husband to help me poke through a ton of paper to tie a signature in, he said, "Well, where's your template?" And I looked at him, "What?" He said, "Well, honey, you got to have a template. Let's make a template." I'm like, "No, I don't. I'm not going to measure. No way. I'm just going to put the holes where I want." Well, turns out this little ditty is a handy little item. So let me show you what this is. Basically, it gives you a pattern to poke through. And it doesn't, you can put it wherever you want. You can eliminate the middle one. You can do whatever you want, but it makes it the same for the paper and the cover. So you can match them. I've done it without. I don't think it's critical, but it does make it easier. Okay, so if we have truly decided that this is where we want our paper, and I'm going to pretend that we have, okay, then what I do, and let me stop. A lot of people do not do it this way. This is just how I do it. So a lot of people will take clothespins, clamps. Let me see. I have a ton of them all over my craft room. Paper clips, and they'll clamp their paper together. It's a great idea. It makes it a little encumbersome for me, so sometimes I don't do it. Hence the reason the channel is called Free Spirit Arts. I really do kind of just do things my own way. Okay, so now I'm talking and I forgot how I do it. Yeah, so what I do is, I think this is how I normally do it. I look at my book and I get my template and I try to center this, right? You can measure it. I mean, you can do that if that's what you want to do. Let's measure it. So it is 8 and, is it 2? 8 and 2 notch. We're going to call that 8. So middle would be 4, right? I saw that and it's right there. Let's make sure that my eyes aren't wrong. Let's put a dot there. Okay, so that's where we're going to put our center, this center one, right? So we're going to put the center one right there, open it up, open the book up, and I'm going to make some holes or some marks. If you make them in pencil, they're hard to find, but you can erase them. So you just have to decide what's comfortable for you. And I've never done this talking before. I hope I don't miss a step because it's important that you don't. Okay. Now you want it, the important part right now is you want to get the crease in the crease. Because if not, when you try to fold it, your papers are going to slide out. So let's get the crease in the crease. And that's when people use these clamps. Because they get it where they want it, and then they clamp it. Well, I'm not going to be able to. Here we go. Clamp the papers in place so they don't slide forward. So they're going to want to. They're going to want to slide forward. Okay. Now, most people will clamp all the way around. There is a lot of room for movement here, so I can see why the clamps are helpful. I've used them a few times. I just find that I'm better off laying it out flat. So. I'm not going to measure this. Now this is how I do it. Because these bother me, this is how I do it. I hold it together. I lay this out. And I do exactly what we did with the book part. It's going to be hard because that's all black and white. So it's right there, and right there. Okay. I believe that. Now this is important not to be moving your paper around. Okay, so do my marks match? See my center mark right there? Right there? It's going to go right here. You see that? So my paper, in theory, my paper is going to lay just like that. Okay, do I believe that? Mm-hmm. All right. Now, like I said, once you get used to this kind of thing, then you do it your way. Because if it's comfortable for you, you're more likely to A, not hate it, and B, do a good job. Because it'll make sense to you. If it doesn't make sense to you, it's not worth it. Following somebody else's instruction. These are my dots. And I'm just going to, this isn't all. My husband actually just took a screwdriver and shaved it down for me. I needed something with padding because it really kills my hands to do this. I've often thought, why doesn't somebody invent a tiny little drill that's battery operated with a tiny, tiny little bit, or maybe several sizes of bits. Okay, let's pray that we went all the way through. We did, sorta. The middle one did. That one just needed to go through one. Okay. Okay, I have holes through all my paper. Now I'm going to set this aside and work on the book. Okay, so we know where our center is. It's really not hard because remember, it's just, even though it's gotten really sturdy, it's just a envelope, right? One, nope. One, two, three. Okay. Now, in theory, this will all go together easy peasy. This is the Miracle Needle. It's got a big hole, but it's pointed, and that's sharp. That's the ticket, in my opinion. I have several other needles with a big eye, but they aren't sharp, and you'll play hell trying to get that needle through. Okay, you want to times this by 3 of the length, of the height of your journal. So there's 1, 2, 3. I always do a little bit more, just, I don't know why. It has come in handy when I want to tie charms on the end or something. And then thread your needle. This is not just thread. This is waxed linen. Well, hello. So, to make my life easy, I start like this, and I just fish my needle through all my pieces. To me, this is easier than trying to do it all at once and poking an extra hole somewhere because I decided not to look. So you put it through the center first, from inside to out, and then leave yourself a tail. Now, some people put a paper clip or something on that middle one so you don't just pull it all through, because that's easy to do. And at this point, I don't really worry about whether my paper's wiggling, because I'm going to straighten it and tighten it here in just a second. Okay, now I'm going to go through this back, and I'm going to go from out to in. I'm going to make sure I'm in the right spot. Sorry guys, I keep pulling it to my chin, but I got to be able to see it. So I'm in my book. Now I'm going to match up with my holes that I put in. Where are they? I think that's it right there. Yep. I just poke it through a couple at a time. In case I make a boo-boo, I can back out, and it's really no big deal. Try not to make my holes too big so that the paper doesn't tear when they're using the book. This might have been the most intimidating part for me when I first started, but after you've done a few of them, you can put a signature together in just like, it's like 5 minutes really. Okay, now we're going to start lining up our book. Just a little, nothing drastic. Not going to freak out about it. Go back through the middle, from inside to out. Back through our outside hole. And all of the holes are conditioned now, and with this wax linen, they're even wax lined, because the wax does rub off a little bit. Now's when you start tightening it up a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect yet. Ever, really. There's my little hole. That's hard to see on black and white. Where'd you go? See it? Can you see it? I'm getting greedy. Going through too many papers at a time. There's our envelope. What do I got? One more? No. And there's our last one that we sewed. Okay. That really is the hard part. That's it. Okay, so now we want to tighten this. Make sure that all of our papers are straight because I kind of boo-booed a hole up there. Pulling our paper through. It's caught on something. I don't want to break this. Just take it easy till you get it tight. Oh, see what I did? It's gone through the, I don't know if I can get that undone. May have to just deal with that somehow. It's gone through the middle of the, I put the needle through the middle of the thread. So now I'm trying to pull it through and it's like a knot. I might have to take it out. I might have to take that. Let me see if I can separate it a little bit. The neat thing about this waxed linen is it's so easy to work with and it's so durable. Okay, there we go. No big deal. Now, we're not done yet. Now take your needle, put it under there, pull it up. Now is when you want all your papers like you like them. In theory, this is going to be the end of this and this is going to be what they're going to look like. So tighten them as tight as you can. That's one time under, right? Oops, the other way. Other way, Carol. There's two. And there's three. Now, take my needle out, tie it in a knot. First one tail, then the other. We could tie it in a bow right now just to keep these strings from driving us crazy. We'll just leave it like that, but you might want to put danglies or something. Let's look and see if we like this. It's starting to look like a book. Uh-oh. Here's our front. There's our center page. Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? You see it? It's upside down. So we're not going to have time to redo this. I will redo it. What I'm going to do is put my needle back on, back my thread out, turn this page around, go through that same process again. Honestly, it'll take me like 2 minutes because I'm not going to be talking and stuff. But other than that, do we like it? When I do that, I'm going to switch this too. Did this signature get turned upside down? Hold on. It did. It did. Remember we put the envelope on the bottom? So the whole signature is upside down. I'm glad this happened. So don't get discouraged if this happens. You guys were probably screaming at me the whole time, turn it around, turn it around. But this is our front. I have heard of people putting something on their front because, you know, this is common. You get turning stuff around and flipping your signature and all of that, and you get focused on your needle or whatever task you have, and the goal becomes this instead of, you know, a broader view. So that's what's happened. There's the whole signature's upside down. This is fixable in like 5 minutes. So if something like this happens, don't get discouraged. You just chuckle about it, move on. That's part of the process. But let's end for today because that's a long time, okay? And this will give you guys time to get yours how you want it. All right? So I hope you're enjoying this process. I hope it's making sense. Look, it's a journal. It's an upside down journal. This is going to be wonderful. I like the pages. I like the colors. Lots of things to play with. This is going to be great. I appreciate you guys. Please feel free to leave a comment. I'd like to talk about it with you. And do subscribe so that and hit that little bell on the page on YouTube so that you get notifications when the next one is up. The next video is up. Okay? Take care of each other. Bye-bye.